At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
That's right, Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports, the Westwood One Sports app, Sirius XM Channel 375, all of our great radio affiliates around the country. I'm Chris Bleck along with Adam Abdalla, broadcasting live from downtown Chicago on the air until 3 Eastern today. If you want to join the show, you can call or text us at 310-840-4910. Start with the NFL today, Abdalla, as the Pittsburgh Steelers have placed the right of first refusal tender on Aaron Rodgers, a tender that I've never heard of until today. But apparently, NFL teams have the ability to place said tender on players, which means that if Aaron Rodgers decides to play football this season, it will be with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
He had the right of first refusal. It's the right to refuse first.
No, I understand that. When you've heard of the franchise tag, you've heard of all of the different options clubs have.
Yes.
I've never heard of the
Right of first refusal?
No, never
So
heard of it.
apparently this was used last year. The Chargers did it with J.K. Dobbins. The Browns did it with Elijah Moore. This has been done before. And basically, this is done to protect the Steelers from giving up a compensatory pick if Rodgers signs with another team later in the offseason. So if Rodgers changes his mind and let's say, I don't know, let me give you an example here. Let's say the Broncos and Bo Nix comes back and he hasn't had enough milk and his ankle snaps in two again.
Milk? What does this have to do with
remember, because Sean Payton was like, this was inevitable. He's got bird bones. And
that's not a direct quote.
But, well, it wasn't direct. I'm paraphrasing.
He did not say that.
Well, there was conflicting he said, she said. And Bo Nix doesn't have the right bone structure. And his ankle is frail.
I don't think Sean Payton said any of that.
He said that this was a matter of time, and Bo Nix came back and said...
I think what he said is that Bo Nix had multiple ankle injuries and surgeries in the past.
And there's an injury to a quarterback, and for some reason, Aaron Rodgers thinks he's got a better chance to win somewhere else, and he goes, you know what? I think I'm going to go sign with that team instead of the Steelers, so I don't have to compete with the Ravens or the Bengals, because I don't like the idea of Dexter Lawrence in my face every other play, or Trey Hendrickson on the edge coming after me all the time during games. I don't like that idea. I'm going to go play in Denver for Sean Payton, or I'm going to go play for this team. This now protects the Steelers. They can now go and offer him a deal that is equal to the same value of the contract that another team would offer Aaron Rodgers, and also protects them from giving up a compensatory pick should he sign with another team. So this is basically, because Aaron Rodgers is dragging ass when making this decision, this is now something that the Steelers can do to protect themselves from Aaron Rodgers, from the player himself.
So from Adam Schefter about an hour ago, it says the Steelers placed the rare UFA tender on Aaron Rodgers, meaning he can accept a 10% raise off of last year's salary, which would pay him about $15 million for this season. Another condition of the tender, Rodgers would be only able to sign with the Steelers once training camp begins. So it's up to Rodgers now to figure out whether or not he wants to play. He's somewhere. He's sitting in a ayahuasca hole somewhere, getting ready, trying to figure out if he should play. I thought at this point in the offseason, we would have known by now that he was going to play.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought by the draft we would have an answer. I think that the Steelers, because we got conflicting reports. It wasn't like a source off. It wasn't we might know, we might not know. Ian Rappaport of NFL Network originally reported that by the start of free agency, Aaron Rodgers would tell the Steelers. Yeah. Then the owner said, well, we're going to give him some time, and that he's talking to Mike McCarthy. And then Mike McCarthy came out at the owners' meetings and said, well, we're giving him more time. We're communicating. We're talking. And then it was by the draft. Well, the draft was last week. So it's obviously not by the draft. And then if you look at it, now we're being told it's going to be around the same time as it was last year. That was June 5th. June 5th was the day that the Steelers announced Aaron Rodgers is we got the news from various reporters that Aaron Rodgers is signing with the Steelers. So that's still over a month away that Aaron Rodgers is going to wait and sign with the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this story, here's why it's frustrating. If you're a Steelers fan and he's coming back, you have Mike McCarthy. So you've got a new head coach, and you assume that this team will get the new head coach bump, even though Mike Tomlin has been great for years. And the Steelers are in that weird spot where they're not good enough to win a Super Bowl, but they also are not bad enough to be at the top of the draft board to find their next great quarterback for the future. So they're in this weird purgatory area of fighting for the wild card, making the playoffs, but you can't win your division. and you can't really, you're essentially, all of your hope is relying on Aaron Rodgers deciding he wants to play football this upcoming season, which is fine. He can still play. He's not terrible. This isn't Kirk Cousins. Like that's a bad situation for the Raiders. But they know they have a quarterback they just drafted. Fernando Mendoza will eventually be the starter for the Raiders. The Pittsburgh Steelers have nothing. They've got nothing behind Aaron Rodgers. So their hope is that he decides he wants to play. But even when he decides he wants to play, the fact that he's not there, or he might not be there for OTAs, he's not there for the offseason program, how much of a benefit is this really to the Pittsburgh Steelers? You know, if you're Mike McCarthy and you're starting fresh, don't you want your most important player, the quarterback of the team, to be there for all of the install, for everything? Like saying that you're going through these different drills with the 1-2 combo of Mason Rudolph and Will Howard, sure, the receivers can kind of gauge on what they're supposed to do from each play that's being installed, but you need to have that rhythm with the guy who's going to be out there. And I know that Aaron Rodgers is just an absolute first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen.
Yeah.
But just because you're that doesn't mean you get to skirt the offseason program and just show up when you want. You're only going to work in the office one day a week. He's going to grace their presence once a week. When the season's on way, he'll be around. I don't know if that really does anything for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if you're a Steelers fan today, like, it has to be annoying that you assume he's going to be there. I assume he's going to be there. I feel like if he wasn't going to play, we would have known this by now.
Yeah.
He would have announced that he was retiring. But the fact that we don't know, and we're sitting here, and now the Steelers placed the tag, the right of first refusal tender on him. Okay, so he's going to be with Pittsburgh if he plays. Now he just needs to decide if he's going to play. What's the hang up?
Well,
seriously, what's that? Why does he not, like, what is he really contemplating not playing?
Well,
tell them you're going to play and show up.
I think here's the difference. The difference is he's not currently under contract. If he's under contract, then he's missing time and missing out on bonuses and missing out on, then it's like you're under contract and you're not being there. If you're under contract and you're not there, then it looks worse than if you're not under contract and you're not there. Like, we can do all this and talk back and forth. Like, basically, for our purposes, he's a Steeler. Like, we know he's a Steeler. There's no other team he's going to sign with. He's going to be a Steeler.
I think he's going to be a Steeler.
I think.
It seems like that's where it's going.
You and I were in Pittsburgh over the weekend.
Great time.
For the draft.
Beautiful city.
We saw no less than 1 billion, I counted, no less than 1 billion Steelers jerseys. Not a one Aaron Rodgers jersey. They drafted Drew Aller out of Penn State.
Ugh.
I don't know if he's the answer. I don't know if he's the future. I don't think he is. I'm already looking at 2027 mock drafts. I'm deep diving.
What do you got? Who's mocking to the Steelers?
I'm deep diving right now. According to Dame Brugler of The Athletic, he's already working on his beast.
His beast 2.0.
He's already working on his beast. Drew Mestamaker.
Easy.
Drew Mestamaker, quarterback out of Oklahoma State. He's going to shoot up the boards. Get familiar.
Okay, I see that. I see in a different mock, C.J. Carr from Notre Dame.
Love it.
Quarterback to the Steelers.
Love it. We got 5 quarterbacks going in the first round next year.
All right. Well,
My point is this. If I'm a Steelers fan, and we've danced around this a little bit yesterday, I still believe what's best for the team. Like, yeah, you want to make the playoffs. You want to make a run. You don't want to be a team that sucks this year. I get that. However, aren't you sick of just being 500 and getting a wild card game and then bowing out? Don't you want the future? Don't you want to have a shot at one of these teams? Don't you want a shot at Dante Moore or Arch Manning? Like, I'm not saying you want to be a 3-win team. No one wants to live through that. But if you can see the forest through the trees, and that is a future, like, look at how far you got with Ben Roethlisberger and what you accomplished with a franchise quarterback. You haven't had that since he left, since Roethlisberger retired.
Yeah.
You've just been piecemealing and plugging different holes with old quarterback and average quarterbacks. Aren't you sick of that as a Steelers fan?
Bad quarterbacks.
Don't you want something better than just waiting around for Aaron Rodgers to show up?
I feel like it is somewhat relatable in the last handful of seasons. Steelers fans, with those of us who have suffered through our football lives. And what the Steeler fan has lived through in the last couple of seasons is what Cleveland Brown fans have lived through, Jets fans have lived through, Chicago Bears fans have lived through, where when you don't have a quarterback, each and every year it's something different, something weird, some guy that was a cast off from somewhere. Oh, maybe he can do something for us. Like I remember when Mike Glennon was a big free agent signing for the Chicago Bears. And then they drafted Mitchell Trubisky in that same offseason. Both cannot play. Couldn't play. Didn't play. Both sucked, right? Like now, that's the harsh reality of the Pittsburgh Steelers, is that you have the chance of Rodgers for like one more season.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you don't really have a future. And that's what you find yourself in, is you're searching for that next quarterback. And that's where the Jets are at. Right? They have Geno Smith there. That's not going to be a long-term solution for the New York Jets until they draft a quarterback in the first round, which will likely be next year, because they're not expected to be good this upcoming season. And at that point, Jets fans can have that slim glimmer of hope, because that's what we have now in Chicago. We have a guy in the first round that was drafted with the number 1 pick, where there's a slim glimmer of hope that he is going to be the guy that changes the outcome of the franchise. Now, Steelers fans have had decades of success, and Roethlisberger is a Hall of Fame quarterback. So they're used to good quarterback play. But now, the short-term future of going from Mike Tomlin to Mike McCarthy and not really knowing your quarterback situation doesn't make me feel good about the Steelers as we head into this season. You know, Mike Tomlin will be on NBC's football broadcast, Football Night in America, coming up this season. And Tomlin was on TV on Sunday night promoting that he's joining NBC. And he talked to Maria Taylor and said that he thinks Aaron Rodgers will be going back to the Steelers.
Man, if you got a gun to my head, I'd say it's AR. I just think, Aaron, being around him for the 12 months that I'm around him, he got a love affair with the game of football. And not only the game, but the process. The informal moments, the development of younger guys, the interaction with teammates. I think he has an addiction to that, and there's only one way to feed it. And certainly he is still capable and in really good shape. And so I think at the end of the day, he'll play football. Man, if you got a gun to my head, I'd say.
Yes, that's Mike Tomlin yesterday. And I think I think everyone knows he's going to return. So Aaron Rodgers.
He's got a love affair with football. He's got a love affair with the game. He's got a love affair with being around his teammates and loving being around the guys. Why doesn't he want to come into camp? Why doesn't he want to be around the OTAs? Why doesn't he want to be around the voluntary mini camps?
That's my point.
Exactly.
Like, what are we doing here?
And again,
why does he get a free pass just because he's a Hall of Fame player?
And Drew Aller might not be the answer. But what scenario would you rather be in right now? Would you rather be in the Cardinals situation where you know I'm going to be bad, but I know that next year, when I look at every single mock draft coming out the way too earlys, Sharpie, number 1, Arch Manning, Dante Moore, whatever it is, take your pick. Number 1 pick, Arizona Cardinals. You know. And so you can go through that. That's your life. It's fine. For 1 year, your focus is on Saturdays and maybe not Sundays. And just start scouting. That's fine. And for Pittsburgh Steelers fans, you may not want that for a year, but don't you want the future? Isn't it worth building something for the next 15 years as opposed to just 1 year? Isn't that worth more to you? Isn't the next 15 years of Arch Manning or Dante Moore or whoever you want worth more than sitting around and waiting for Aaron Rodgers? And I understand part of the reason that the Rooney family brought in Mike McCarthy was probably to lure Aaron Rodgers for one more year. But he's also a developer of quarterbacks. He developed Aaron Rodgers. He developed Dak Prescott. Let him develop the next young quarterback.
It's Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. If you want to call or text the show, you can do that at 310-840-4910. On Thursday night one of the NFL draft, we had a chance to talk with Ty Simpson. That interview can be found on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe, Bleck and Abdalla show right there on YouTube. He told us in the moment that he wasn't aware of the Rams' plan to draft him. Has Ty Simpson changed his story? We'll hear from Ty Simpson coming up next.
The draft is over, but the phone lines are still active. The NFC East has already made a litany of moves. Now the question becomes, who's next to be traded? George Pickens or A.J. Brown? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
We'll get to Ty Simpson in just a second. Did he lie to Bleck and Abdalla on draft night? Is he a liar?
How dare he? That's my quarterback.
That's your quarterback? Ty Simpson?
He was.
Sitting next to you, he looked our size, and we are small. And I'm just saying, as a football fan, when I see quarterbacks on the field, I hope that they can see over the line of scrimmage. That's objective number one for the quarterback. He's taller than you. You took a picture with him because he's an Alabama quarterback.
Yeah.
So
he's listed as taller than Bryce Young. I've never taken a picture with Bryce Young, so I wouldn't know.
He didn't look like an imposing force.
No.
Like Francis Mauigoa sat down next to us. That's a big dude.
Yeah.
Right?
That's,
Arvell Reese sat down. Reuben Bain Jr. sat down. It's like, that dude.
Caden Proctor?
Yes. But like Reuben Bain, you look at him sitting next to us, you're like, that guy will kill quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like that dude's a beast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Abdalla, we have a texter from, I believe it's New York, from the 585. They have thoughts for you, Abdalla.
Oh, okay.
Here's the texter's thoughts, and you can always text the show, 310-840-4910. We'll get to Ty Simpson lying to Bleck and Abdalla in just a moment. Here's what the texter from the 585 from New York says. Cowboy fan here, please stop saying Mike McCarthy developed Dak Prescott. It was Kellen Moore and Jason Garrett who developed him. McCarthy unlocked Dak Prescott. So Abdalla, apologize to our great texter to the show.
The only thing Jason Garrett ever did was look weirdly into a camera on the NBC set and give it a weird wink. That's the only thing Jason Garrett's ever done.
I love he didn't develop him. He unlocked
him.
He unlocked him.
Okay.
You can always text the show at 310-840-4910. Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. So if you go to our YouTube channel, Bleck and Abdalla's show, you can find all of our different interviews that we conducted night one of the NFL draft. We talked to every player that was there in person, and those videos are posted on our YouTube channel, Bleck and Abdalla's show. So make sure you check that out. Ty Simpson stopped by the table on draft night, and we asked Ty Simpson on draft night, did he know that the Rams were going to take him? And he said this.
No. There were some rumors swirling. It kind of snowballed as we got closer and closer and closer. But I have heard so many things from, just trades that could happen and just the draft in general, the chaos. But sure enough, I saw, one of my best friends, Cade Proctor go before me. And I looked back at my phone and the Los Angeles number called. And it was something to where I got to talk to Mr. Snead and I got to talk to Coach. And I can't wait to get out there tomorrow.
Okay, so that was Ty Simpson on draft night. He said no. Rumors were swirling.
Yeah.
But he didn't expect the Rams to be the ones drafting him.
Interesting.
Right? That's what he said. On the record on Thursday night, right?
Looked us right in the eye.
Right in the eye. At eye level, too. right? Again, back to not being an opposing force, sitting down next to us. All right, so that was Thursday, night one of the NFL draft. It seems as if Ty Simpson, since that point, has changed his story. It seems as if he did have an idea that the Rams are going to take him, and he told ESPN this yesterday, so take a listen to this. Simpson on the Rams having secret interest in him.
We tried to keep this, under wraps as long as we could. It was something to where I knew they were interested, but, they wanted to, make it private and didn't want people to know that, they were interested. So I had some secret meetings with, Coach McVay. I just was trying to be on script and, do what, everybody told me not to tell anybody. It was something to where I knew that they were interested. I just didn't know when. And then, sure enough, I had a lot of confidence in myself, and that's why I decided to come out. If it wasn't them, I felt like that it was going to be somebody else.
So that was Ty Simpson yesterday on ESPN saying that he had secret meetings and he was following the script that they gave him. So he was giving us a scripted response that the Rams gave him ahead of time. Am I hearing this correctly? That he told us one thing because it's what the Rams told him to say?
He's lying. He's lying to us. Like, if you listen to the answer he gave us. Laura, if you could play the answer he gave us. Is all of this acting, all of the hesitation, all of the stuttering, all of that's all acting? Listen to his answer to us again.
No. There were some rumors swirling. It kind of snowballed as we got closer and closer and closer. But I have heard so many things from, just trades that could happen and just the draft in general, the chaos. But sure enough, I saw, one of my best friends, Caden Proctor go before me. And I looked back at my phone and the Los Angeles number called. And it was something to where I got to talk to Mr. Snead and I got to talk to Coach, and I can't wait to get out there tomorrow.
So does that mean all of the McVay staring down Les Snead, that was all fake? All of everybody going after McVay for being angry at Snead. Then he had to come out the next day and say that he was cool with Snead and they're on the same page. That was all fake. Everything was all fake.
See, I don't believe that, because did you read Bill Barnwell's piece today on ESPN.com? Mm-hmm. It's like 6 million words.
Of course it is.
Always.
Yeah. I got through the first 1.5 million.
It's great, but it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
I always feel like, this is a very obscure reference, but I always feel like when I sit down to read Barnwell, that it will be like the Twilight Zone episode with the guy with the books and the glasses, and he's the last person alive, and then his glasses break, and he doesn't have he has all the time in the world to read the Barnwell column, but now he doesn't have his glasses anymore. Like, that's how I always feel when I sit down for a Barnwell column. At the start, Barnwell points out that he still thinks that Sean McVay was being himself the night of the draft, and that he and Les Snead were not on the same page.
That's how I feel.
So you're right. Was this all a ruse? Was this all acting? I don't know. Was Ty Simpson lying to us on draft night? Was he being real with ESPN the other day on Monday, saying that he was given a script to follow? Because that's what he told ESPN yesterday.
Either Sean McVay is the greatest living actor since Daniel Day-Lewis.
Terrible
and
liar.
should be up for an Oscar.
What is that?
Up for some form of Oscar.
Okay.
Or up for a Golden Globe or whatever, because those veins in his head and the neck were popping because he was so angry. And that is some of the best method acting I've ever seen in my life, because he was so angry and you could see him staring and he was so red. And I've never seen someone be that upset. And he literally said, we're going to keep that between us. And he just looked so upset.
Yeah.
And I could see him being yeah, we're going to keep that between us, and being casually mad about it or just visible. But he looked
upset.
And
that's
he
what I'm saying.
Looked so angry.
And I don't know. Can Ty Simpson act at the same caliber that Sean McVay can. I kind of felt like speaking to Ty Simpson, a really nice kid. He did seem to me like he was a bit overwhelmed by the moment.
He seemed nervous.
He seemed nervous, and he seemed overwhelmed by and obviously it's an emotional night.
Yeah.
And it is so cool. It's the best night of many of these people's lives, right? Like outside of getting married someday and having kids, like that, getting drafted in the NFL in the first round is like the apex of like great moments in a person's life. So,
and to pull the curtain back, like he had come just from he was at a press conference and then came to talk to us. So he was standing at a podium answering questions from reporters and then came to talk. So he was getting grilled and then came down. And so he should have been a little bit more relaxed, I would have thought, to talk to us because we're just two guys and he's sitting there in front of 20 reporters asking questions, and then he's just sitting down with us and we're like, hey, what's it like? Like, we're giving him the softballs. You know what I mean? We're giving him, hey, what was it like to walk across the stage? Did you think they were going to take you? What'd you learn at Alabama? What'd you learn from Kalen DeBoer? Like, we're giving him the easy questions. You know what I mean? We're not asking him the hard-hitting stuff. So I feel like he should have been, so maybe he is our greatest living actor. Maybe we're dealing with Robert De Niro and Daniel Day-Lewis here between Sean McVay and Ty Simpson. Maybe that's what we're dealing with.
Ty Simpson went on to ESPN to say and to talk about the secret meeting he had with Sean McVay.
No, it was great. We met at the facility, and it was something to where, we just talked for hours and hours, and it was just football. It was just straight football. And it was like a kid in a candy store. Me and him are sitting there, and we're just going back and forth. Just you can tell the obsession he has for the game, and you can tell the love he has for quarterback play. It's something that I appreciate, and it's something that I enjoy because I really enjoy playing the position and value the position. So being with him and then getting to know him and then just, seeing a little bit of, how I would get coached if I was, fortunate enough to go there was something that, I couldn't have asked for, a better situation.
So that was Ty Simpson on ESPN yesterday talking about his meeting with McVay. He essentially told us that. Now it is pitched as if it was a secret meeting, but he told us he met with the Rams. And he talked to Sean McVay, and
Scouts and whatnot.
And he liked his time talking to Les Snead and McVay. So that to me isn't that surprising. But the being told to stay on script part of it is surprising to me.
Is he also lying about talking to Matthew Stafford? Are they buddies now? Has he talked to Matthew Stafford? Do we know this? Has he met with the Stafford? Because as of yesterday or 2 days ago, he had only talked to Stafford's wife through, quote, Instagram text messages. Is that part of the script?
Maybe it is. Maybe part of the script is not to say that they've talked.
If it is, Instagram text messages is the worst script writing I've ever heard.
Maybe AI came up with it.
I was going to say, did AI come up with Instagram text messages?
It might have.
Better known as DMs?
Was there a dash in the sentence and an emoji as well? Because that's a dead giveaway when someone's responding with AI junk.
Oh my God.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's like the laughing crying emoji and like the detective emoji. To me, this is so if they're secret meetings, okay?
Yep.
Does this warrant an investigation? Because
in what?
Well, you're only allowed to have a certain amount of meetings with prospects.
No. I don't think that it was a secret meeting. I think he misunderstood. Listening to that audio.
It sounds like Ty Simpson misunderstands a lot of things.
And that's your quarterback.
Well,
let me ask you a question.
Not anymore. As soon as he steps off campus, he takes off the jersey, and now we're moving on.
Let me ask you a question. At Alabama, did he speak to the media often? Because I asked this question because I'm a fan of USC football.
Yeah.
And Lincoln Riley does not allow his players to speak to the media.
Yeah.
So you don't get to really see or hear from a lot of players often. And I think if people want to connect dots, I think it was a major it didn't help Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
His public perception when he was at USC, I think, was hurt by the fact that Lincoln Riley did not allow him to speak. So I'm wondering, like, is this all new for Ty Simpson, and that's why he's kind of stepping in it in different variety here?
I mean, occasionally it's not like they would do like after practice, like press conferences and stuff like that. It wasn't like they didn't have like an NFL schedule where it was like, you know, they'd meet on like Wednesdays or whatever like that.
So it's so he definitely lied to Bleck and Abdalla. I think that's the key here, is that Ty Simpson lied.
I should have told him that I was an Alabama fan before the interview, not after the interview.
Yeah,
maybe we would have gotten some truth out of him.
Hey, maybe some intel on the fact that he knew that the Rams are going to take him.
Yeah.
Pollen season is here, but a dirty car doesn't have to be. Wash it away at Tidal Wave Auto Spa for a quick wash and that clean car happy feeling. Find a location at TidalWaveAutoSpa.com. The Pistons are in trouble. The Magic are now up 3-1 on the Pistons. Is it time for Detroit to panic about the Pistons in the first round? We'll talk about that coming up next.
Who aced the draft and who completely whiffed? We're breaking down the picks, the fits, and where your team goes next. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
Hanging out with you until 3 Eastern right here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Last night, the Magic beat the Pistons 94-88. The Orlando Magic now have a 3-1 lead in this first-round series. It is now time for the Pistons to panic. They had a great regular season, best team in the Eastern Conference, but the number one thing that we pointed to throughout the regular season was that they're shooting from the outside of Duncan Robinson being a three-point threat. They don't shoot well enough from three to compete at a high level, and Cade Cunningham can do everything that he's been doing all season long, but if you limit his ability to get to the basket, the Pistons struggle to score, and it seems like Orlando figured that out. And they have essentially, turned it into a slower defensive style series. And they've really bodied the Pistons here so far. A 3-1 lead.
Where's Jalen Duren?
MIA. He's been out there. He's been participating.
He had 20 points in game one and then has had 8 points, 10 points, and he had 12 yesterday.
Yep.
His highest point total since game one. He was the guy while Cade Cunningham was out with his collapsed lung. And it seemed like he was the guy to take over in his absence. And that was good, right? It looked like he was able to flourish and maybe this would help them in the playoffs. And you said, hey, maybe this, has helped the development of Jalen Duren, and said, when Cade Cunningham came back, maybe they could be this tandem that led the Pistons and maybe got them past further than they got along because, okay, they're a 1 seed, but, the Celtics are better. Everybody knows the Celtics are better. And with the Magic and Cade Cunningham coming back from his collapsed lung, it's not like a hamstring injury or a knee injury or whatever. It's a collapsed lung, so it was nothing that was going to hinder him when he came back. But he's coming back from an injury. How is it going to affect him? He's still putting up 25 points last night, but it's everyone else that has struggled. Tobias Harris puts up 20, but it's really Jalen Duren who only put up 8 shots last night. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and Duren will be a free agent this summer. He is likely to be like one of the big ticket items who's not one of the older, I don't want to say has been, but like the guys we're used to, right? The guys who become free agents like every year, like James Harden, LeBron James. And not that they're bouncing. Well, Harden kind of bounces from team to team.
Yeah.
But like LeBron essentially is a free agent every year and then signs a 1-and-1 again. And then like it's his decision after the next year. So like when I look at free agent classes, it's like, okay, we always have those names. But Jalen Duren is essentially going to be the best young player looking for a deal this summer. He's 22. He definitely has come into his own this season. He's been outstanding. And you're right. He's essentially disappeared in this series. Wendell Carter Jr. has played great defense. And the Orlando Magic are now sitting in a position where this has only happened 6 times previously in NBA history, where an 8 seed upsets a number 1 seed in a conference. It's happened twice previously in the Eastern Conference. The 1999 New York Knicks were able to pull it off, and the 2023 Miami Heat pulled it off. And if my basketball memory is right, it's that Heat team made it to the finals, right? That was the Jimmy Butler miraculous playoff run. So you have a Magic team that now is up 3-1 on the Pistons. And the Pistons, it is definitely time to panic. Now, the rest of the playoff action last night, the Thunder sweep into the second round. Goodbye, Suns. It's something that we talked about heading into the playoffs. Whoever won the play-in game, they weren't going to be able to do anything against the Thunder. The interesting stat there, the Oklahoma City Thunder now have won 12 straight games in the first round.
That's crazy.
3 straight sweeps the last 3 seasons for the Thunder. And how about the Nuggets? I called Jokic out yesterday. He was being soft after game 4. Game 5, instead of trying to fight, he showed up with his game. He had a triple-double, and the Nuggets essentially controlled that game from the start. And so the Nuggets now force a Game 6 back in Minneapolis. The series now, Timberwolves lead 3-2.
Asterisks. No Anthony Edwards, Dante DiVincenzo.
Oh, so you're going to go asterisks on that.
Well, I mean,
I feel like most of the playoffs are that.
A
lot of teams are dealing with injuries.
I understand that, but it's interesting that
take a look at the Rockets-Lakers series.
I get that. But it's interesting to me that I understand that like those guys aren't guarding Jokic, but he has this triple-double and they come out and they win a game when the Timberwolves don't have 2 of their starters out there. Their 2 backcourt guys aren't out there and they're depleted scoring-wise, and those guys aren't able to play.
It's going to be a struggle for Minnesota.
It absolutely is.
Now, they're going home. They play better at home. So sure, they could certainly still win this series. And we don't know how long Anthony Edwards will be out for. The hyperextension of the knee, the bone bruise, that stuff can sometimes take like a month, if not longer, to get back to. So it's good that he didn't tear ligaments, but it's also, setting up this entire playoff conversation. It sucks to see so many players get hurt in the playoffs, before the playoffs. It feels like that is what NBA basketball has come to, where it's whoever can stay healthy the longest has the best chance to win the title.
Well, and as you get deeper and deeper into the playoffs, and if this starts to happen, and we saw it last season with Halliburton, we saw it last year with Tatum, you saw this start to happen more and more. And the conversation, if this continues to happen, more and more deeper into the playoffs, could you imagine if the Thunder advance to the finals?
Can you imagine?
If SGA gets hurt with like an Achilles or a hamstring or something like that.
What if he gets hurt flopping to the ground?
Well, then that's his own doing. My point is, if you start getting these injuries, the conversation in the offseason will once again turn to there's too many games. They're playing faster. They're playing, the back-to-backs, the so many games in so many days during the week. The commissioner added a in-season tournament. And I know it's only a couple extra games if you advance into the tournament, but the point is there's more basketball. They're playing faster than they ever have. They're playing, the speed of the game is faster and tougher than it's ever been. And that's what and you just said it. It seems who can ever last the longest is going to end up winning. And so the conversation will turn to who can last the longest, and should there be a point where you start to eliminate games or extend the season out so you're eliminating back-to-backs and you're eliminating the 4 games in a week and all that kind of stuff. So players, so you don't have the load management during the week, and you don't have guys sitting out the second night of a back-to-back or the first night of a back-to-back. And I think that's what you're going to see in the offseason again.
It's Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. I think it also could go to team building, right? Like, that's why we're starting to see the super teams dissipate, because, yes, you need stars at the top of your roster, but you need depth. You need to be able to play 8 to 12 guys.
Yeah, but they're adding 2 teams.
Especially I know, but look at the teams that are the best. Those teams have depth. Mm-hmm. Boston in the East, the Thunder in the West, the Spurs in the West. Both the Thunder and the Spurs have dealt with injuries. They just are deep enough to withstand while the injuries take place. Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Last week, we were in Pittsburgh for the NFL draft, and on our way home on Friday night, Abdalla struck a pot of gold. You, sir, found yourself in an opportune spot to take advantage of a new thing that is hitting airwaves around the country, where they have the luxurious row to yourself where you can lay down. Did you, so you didn't have anyone in your row. Did you try to lay down in the row on the flight back?
I try to select an aisle seat every time I get to, so I got an aisle seat, and sitting to my left was nobody, and sitting to that nobody's left was also nobody. So I had an entire row to myself. And did I lay down? No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
I didn't lay down. I think it's weird. I think it's weird to lay down.
Of course it's weird.
What am I going to lay? Like, first of all, I'm not tall. Like, I'm not Ty Simpson. I'm not a giant. So I'm not going to lay down like in like the fetal position and then my legs are hanging over, or the opposite way. So like my head is up against the aisle. Like, what am I going to do in this situation?
What if you put your head near the aisle, legs up on the side of the play?
That's weird. Also, our flight was like an hour and 15 minutes.
Well, maybe you wanted a nap.
No, I don't need a nap.
I'll say this right now. If you are an individual, if you're an adult and you're taking the nap position, laying down on the flight, what are we doing?
I don't know.
What are we doing? Now,
I'll tell you what I did. I did take my leg.
If you're on a plane with the pods where the intent of the seat is to be a lay down seat.
That's fine.
That's different.
I extended my leg across the extra leg room that I was given because there was nobody sitting there. So across the other seats on the ground, leg extended.
I also don't get the people that like have to recline.
No, I never recline.
Like the amount of the chair going back is not
recline.
Like worth the hassle of dealing with it.
I don't even know if there was someone behind me, but I didn't even recline.
All right, Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. Brendan Sorsby, will he play football in college this upcoming season? We'll talk about it next.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
That's right, Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports, the Westwood One Sports app, Sirius XM Channel 375, all of our great radio affiliates around the country. I'm Chris Bleck along with Adam Abdalla, broadcasting live from downtown Chicago on the air until 3 Eastern. You can call or text the show at 310-840-4910. Abdalla, we're hanging out with you, talking a lot of football. And did you see this story about Brendan Sorsby, the transfer quarterback expected to be playing for Texas Tech this upcoming football season, where he is being investigated by the NCAA for gambling, according to sources in ESPN, as the organization forbids athletes from betting on both college and pro sports. Sorsby is also entering a program for addiction to gambling. And this is a huge story because obviously we know that it's out there and that people are going to gamble on sports. And we see the commercials, we read the commercials, and we talk about gambling a lot. And that there are going to be athletes who partake in gambling on sports. And if you're a college athlete and there are rules against it per the NCAA, this is a major problem. And it's only a matter of time for many to get caught that they are doing this while still playing in college athletics.
Yeah, so Texas Tech transfer quarterback Brendan Sorsby checked himself into a residential treatment program for gambling addiction. The school announced yesterday, he was making thousands of online bets on a variety of sports via a gambling app, which jeopardizes his eligibility with Texas Tech, obviously. It was college athletics. It was pro sports. So whatever he was gambling on, we don't know if he was gambling for or against his own team. We don't know what sports, how many times. It says thousands. So that's a lot of bets. We don't know how much or how little the amounts were, but it doesn't matter. He checked himself into a rehab facility for gambling addiction. And the point is, whether it's one bet or 1,000 bets, you're not allowed to do it if you're a college athlete or a pro athlete. And that's the consequence that you face if you admit to it or if you get caught, is your eligibility to compete in college athletics is now come into question. And now the NCAA is investigating this thing that Brendan Sorsby is accused of and admitted. I mean, he checked himself into rehab. It's not like it's not like an accusation. He's admitting that he did it, and whether or not he can participate in college football ever again. And also, this brings into question his NIL payments from the school as well and from other funds as well. So now they're going to go after him. His NIL fund's going to go after him, all of this kind of stuff. And this brings into question, once again, how many athletes are involved in doing this. And I know that Paul Feinbaum said this is just the tip of the iceberg of how many athletes are actually doing this or telling a buddy to do this for them. You know, like that can happen. You know, like it can happen. It can say, it doesn't have to be them. Like that's the other part of this, is that it doesn't have to be the player that does this. The player can tell a friend, hey, here's a bunch of money. I'm handing you all this cash. Put it into an account and make these bets for me if they really want to. Like, that's a way around getting caught, or you could get caught doing that. Like, there can be a paper trail. There can be a way for you to get caught doing that. And so this is, unfortunately, a reality of college sports and a reality of pro sports that is now come into focus because these apps are out there and everybody has access to them, and all you need is a bank account or a credit card and an ID, and you can do this. And it's not like the gambling apps are checking, does, Brendan Sorsby play for Texas Tech when he's signing up for an app? They just go, oh, okay, all right, we're going to take your money and put you in there.
So Pete Thamel has an article up on ESPN.com, and he points out in the article, according to an amended NCAA guideline that came out in 2023, student athletes who wager on their own games or on other sports at their own school face, quote, permanent loss of collegiate eligibility in all sports, end quote. The other potential gambling punishment guidelines include if a college football player, for example, bets on a different school in their own sport, quote, the loss of 50% of one season of eligibility will be considered, end quote. So he's on the record for gambling on sports. Mm-hmm. So if he were to have gambled on college football or college athletics, he could be ineligible this upcoming season. At the very least, he could be ineligible to play for at least half of this season, if that's the case. Now, Thamel's piece also points out he's not being investigated by law enforcement. Sources tell ESPN. He's also not been linked to anyone attempting of games. It points out that Sorsby's gambling, sources say, was just a steady flurry of small bets over a period of time. So, it's also one of those things that gambling addiction is real.
Yeah.
It's why every gambling ad has the disclaimer at the end of this disclaimer. And for some of those who can't limit themselves, like a part of the article is pointing to he was at baseball games betting on strikes and balls and placing $1.50 bets on pitches, on individual pitches. Like, now, we've all been to a baseball game before. I've gambled on the outcome of an at-bat. I've done that. But I also don't do it every day. You know what I'm saying? I usually, unless it's a big sporting event, I'm usually sticking to football when I'm betting the most. And it's usually NFL is the way that I tend to lean because I always feel like college football, where I think I know something, I always find out that those are still 18 to 22-year-olds playing. And no matter what you know going into a college football game, they always find a way to surprise you. And it's why I love this sport. But I do find that the most success I have is in the NFL season, betting NFL football. And so, like, I tend to limit myself just based on trying to stick to what I think I'm decent at.
Yeah.
You know, but if you have a problem, he is seeking help. So at least he's doing that. But whether or not he will be eligible and be able to play for Texas Tech this upcoming season is a different story.
Well, and it's the NIL money. He was supposed to make, around $5 million in NIL money from Texas Tech. So what is going to happen to that? And they're obviously going to want to recoup that from Sorsby.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's going to be lawyers involved, obviously, and there's going to be obviously some filings and trying to get that back from Sorsby and whether he was using that to make the bets. And like you said, whether it was $1.50 or $500 bets, it doesn't matter. A bet's a bet. And the terms say that you can't make any bets, whether it's professional or college, whether he's at a college game betting on outcomes of pitches or at a professional game gambling on the outcomes of pitches. It doesn't matter, or for or against his team. It doesn't matter. Like, he doesn't get extra credit for betting on his team to win and then winning the game. Like, it doesn't add extra, you don't get extra points for being like, yeah, well, I bet on my team to win and we won. Like, you don't get to say that in court and you get extra points for that, right? Gambling on your gambling is gambling. And I think that there are rules in place, and, certain states have rules that you can't bet on like we broadcast out of the city of Chicago. In Illinois, you can't bet on
college athletics
from the state. You can't bet on Illinois. You can't bet on Northwestern.
So any school that's in Illinois and playing games in the state of Illinois, you can't gamble on.
And for some reason, they think that that's going to curb something. I don't know what, because if you're a college athlete, you could still bet on Alabama or USC or Notre Dame or anything. The article points
to, according to sources to ESPN, Sorsby bet on Indiana football while redshirting for the Hoosiers as a true freshman in 2022. In a season where he played a single game as a reserve, the bets in 2022, according to a source, were on Indiana to win, and none of them came in a game which Sorsby appeared. Okay. So he was betting on his own team that he was a part of.
Okay.
He didn't play in those games, but he was betting on the Hoosiers to win games in 2022.
Yeah, and it has not drawn the attention of law enforcement, according to sources, nor has he been linked to anyone attempting to influence the outcome of a game. So that's essentially what people are worried about and lawmakers are worried about, is that this will lead to, nefarious people, the mob, influencing games and going to, like, Sorsby and saying, hey, we're going to offer you X amount of dollars to throw this game so we can gamble on it and make X amount of dollars.
All right. So, he's not the only one.
No, of course he's not.
There's other college athletes out there gambling.
He also didn't get caught. He admitted this himself and checked himself into rehab. Like, he admitted this. It's not like they're like, we caught you.
Yeah.
We got you. He said, I'm checking myself into rehab for this addiction. This isn't like a we got you. You're kicking you out of Texas Tech and we want all of our money back. This is I'm admitting myself into rehab because I have a gambling problem. So this isn't like they're busting some gambling ring.
He was also sued by Cincinnati for leaving to go to Tech because they said that he breached their contract that he had with Cincinnati to be their quarterback there, which is, it's just like, I know where we're at in college football. I know where we're at in college athletics. It's not what it used to be. It's not, right? Quarterbacks and star players have contracts with teams for NIL. Yeah. You can gamble on all this stuff. You are essentially, as a college football player who's a quarterback, You're a free agent every season. That's what it is. It's open free agency each and every year, which I don't think is better for the sport. I think that the loss of continuity between one season to the next really hurts both college basketball and college football. It used to be something that you knew if a team got to a certain point in one season, all right, let's see if next year they can run it back. Can they get better? Can they do something? Well, each and every year, you go into the next season and 75 quarterbacks are swapping jerseys because they're jumping all over in the portal to all these different teams. If you're a big dog, you're essentially hiring quarterbacks on one-year deals because you just pluck the best guy from a smaller school to come to your school because you have more NIL money to just put them in as your quarterback each and every season. You know, like I think Texas is in a unique situation this year. Arch Manning has been at Texas for a couple years now. He's their guy, and he's stayed there. I like that. I have nothing that feels right. But the quarterbacks bouncing from one spot to the next every single year in the portal just because they are trying to search for that starting gig. That to me is where I start to lose the interest of some of this stuff because that's not what college football is supposed to be. It's not.
There's no other sport where every player is a free agent at the end of the year. Like, there's just not.
Is that what Nate Oates told us when we were at the Final Four? Was that Nate Oates who said that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's right. I agree with him.
He's right. And so what needs to happen is, I'm not saying that it needs to go back. The problem is when you start talking about this, everybody assumes when you say there needs to be regulation that you want it to go back to like the 90s and how we need to go back to where there's bagmen and you need to go back to where the players aren't played and, well, they get paid in scholarships and they get paid with a college education. That's not what we're saying at all. There just needs to be some form of regulation, and you can't just be like, well, I'm out now and I played for a year here and now I'm not going to be the starter because they just recruited a 5-star quarterback and I'm not going to start anymore, so I'm leaving. Like, there has to be some form of regulation and there has to be some form of commitment. And if you, like you said with Sorsby, if you sign a contract, you sign a contract.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I remember Tom Brady. There was a clip of Tom Brady going around like within the last 6 months, and he talked about his path to where he got to be one of the best quarterbacks ever. And he talked about having to beat out competition and staying and learning how to play and to develop is a part of why he became as good as he was, right? And so when you get the quarterbacks who the moment that they lose the job, the starting job, and they jump into the portal, it's just the easy way out. Mm-hmm. And that just seems to be the way of life now, is that if someone's not going to hand you something, then you're just going to jump into the portal and leave because there's 1,000 schools out there or 1,000 opportunities. And it's just, and you know, the other thing that you mentioned, the bagman, it is interesting how now that this is all above board and NIL is legal, it's interesting how no longer the SEC is just completely dominating the sport of college football. Isn't that a fascinating thing to look at? How now the Big Ten is on par, if not better, than the SEC. When back in the day, when you had the bagman and you had the local car dealership in your local town giving out cars to all the players who are on the starting line for the LSU Tigers under the table. Here, find these keys. These keys will be left in this car.
Well, yeah. Because,
just return it when you're done.
Well, yeah.
When that was the gimmick, the SEC ruled. Yeah. And now it's all an even playing field. And here comes Ohio State and Michigan and the big dog in Indiana of all schools, the big dogs of the Big Ten. They're on par with the SEC. It's. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Big Ten now has the ability to be a better football conference than the SEC.
I wouldn't even say it's a coincidence. It's just look at the alumni. Look at the alumni base. The Alabama doesn't have the alumni base that Michigan and Ohio State does. Alabama isn't paying for a $10 million quarterback the way Michigan can buy a $10 million quarterback birthday present for a donor's wife or girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The only team that can do that is Texas A&M. And guess what? Cost of oil's going up. So I don't know if Texas A&M is going to be.
Did you see gas prices today?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if Texas A&M is going to be affording all that stuff that much anymore. So the cost of that is based on the alumni and what alumni are willing to put into an NIL fund. And Big Ten schools have wealthier alumni than SEC schools, and that's what you're seeing, except for Texas A&M, and like. That's about it. Alabama doesn't have it. Tennessee doesn't have it.
LSU's throwing around money.
LSU's throwing around money, and occasionally you will get one donor 1 year to be like, all right, I'll do it for 1 year, and you better figure, here's $20 million for a year. Here's $10 million for a year.
But that's where, when you get the billionaire donor to add to the mix, that's how you get Brendan Sorsby going to Texas Tech.
Exactly.
Texas Tech has billionaire money backing the programs, both basketball and football, and that's why they are able to go after these top-level players in the portal.
Look at what just happened yesterday. Arkansas just got one of the top recruits in college basketball. Arkansas now has...
They got chicken money.
Arkansas
Tyson chicken money
now
at Arkansas.
Has the number one recruiting class in college basketball.
Oh, it's Coach Cal.
It's Coach Cal.
We saw him at the Final Four, wheeling and dealing in the back rooms.
And it's because they have the biggest NIL fund in college basketball. It's not any secret. They just do. They have the biggest NIL fund in college basketball. It's not going to their college football program. It's going to their basketball program.
Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Which NFL team had the most underrated draft? We'll get into that in Power Rankings coming up next.
The Cardinals draft Carson Beck after a national title game run at Miami. Is the experienced pocket passer ready to be Arizona's quarterback of the future? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
Hanging out with you until 3 Eastern right here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Broadcasting live from downtown Chicago. Now we go on out to parts unknown, Colorado. And that's where we find Raj Sharon producing Bleck and Abdalla. It's now time for Power Rankings with Raj. Hello, Raj.
Hello, Bleck. Hello, Abdalla. Hope you guys are having a terrific Tuesday so far. You ready for a post-NFL draft edition of some Power Rankings, guys?
Let's get after it. Let's do it.
All right. For those of you that have never heard the segment before, shame on you first. But secondly, we don't do your regular old Power Rankings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we come up with fun categories like your favorite little graphic you see online. And we're going to start off with you, Abdalla. And our first Power Ranking category is underrated draft. Who you put in that category? Who had an underrated draft?
An underrated draft. Give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Had an underrated draft. Going 2 defensive picks in their draft. Ruben Bain fell to number 15. That's a great pickup for them. Josiah Trotter from Missouri, I thought was a great pick for them as well in the second round. And then going wide receiver in the third round, they have a plethora of weapons, but you can never have enough wide receivers. 6'4", 206, Ted Hurst out of Georgia State. He is extremely fast. So Ted Hurst, I love it. He's like going to be their fourth receiver, special teams, but he's insanely fast from Georgia State. So I like it. I think they had an underrated draft.
Raj, for my category of underrated, I'm going to go with the Houston Texans. Keelan Rutledge, the guard from Georgia Tech, selected at the end of the first round with the 26th pick. And then the Texans move up to get Caden McDonald from Ohio State, defensive tackle. They needed a tackle. They needed to address the offensive line. They did both of those things with their first 2 picks. I like what the Texans were able to do. It's a bit underrated.
All right, guys. Well, you know we got to do the inverse of that. So, Bleck, overrated draft. Who you put in that category?
Overrated. When we look at the NFL draft of overrated, I think the Cardinals are overrated. I still don't think that when you look at the fact that Jeremiah Love getting selected with the 3rd overall pick, I feel as if people are trying to force it into something it's not. You see what I'm saying? Like people are trying to make themselves feel better that the Cardinals sprung for running back at 3 by saying, oh, he could be a game changer. He could be the offensive player of the year.
Saquon Barkley, Adrian Peterson. He could be one of these guys. I see what you're seeing there, Bleck. All right, what do you say, Abdalla? Who do you think had an overrated draft?
I'm looking at people that put the Dolphins in that had like a top 5 draft. Besides Caden Proctor, who can be a good pick. Everybody's saying it's going to be either boom or bust with Caden Proctor. I don't know if Chris Johnson can be a decent quarterback. At 27, he said everybody was like he can be a second round corner. They took him in the first round. And then to get Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech, then they go another wide receiver. I mean, they got decent weapons, but you didn't really address. You're going to be in the quarterback market for next year, so you're building, but you only got one guy in the trenches. You only got Caden Proctor for your trench building purposes, and to only add one guy in this draft, I thought you needed to add more. You did late in the process. You added an edge rusher late in the 4th round. You added another guard in the 6th round. But other than that, these are a bunch of, you got a corner, linebacker, wide receiver, tight end, wide receiver, linebacker, safety. I don't see a lot of foundation there for the Dolphins.
Well, and they had like 1 million draft picks as well. You look at it, it's like, man, they had 6 picks in the first 3 rounds of a draft we kept hearing. Wasn't all that great. Maybe not the draft to go quantity over quality. All right, next category, guys, on our post-draft edition of Power Rankings. They weren't a playoff team before the draft, but they might be now. Abdalla?
I mean, you know where I'm going to go here. You know where I'm going to go. The Tennessee Titans.
I'm glad you didn't take my team because I think mine's good.
I think I know where you're going to go. I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans for mine. I think that they getting a wide receiver for Cam Ward in Carnell Tate, I thought was great. I also think in the first round, getting Keldrick Falk, the edge rusher from Auburn, was a great move for them. And then adding another linebacker, Anthony Hill Jr. from Texas, I thought was great for them. I think that they have a chance to go from worst to not necessarily first, but they could also compete for a wild card spot. I love what the Titans did in this draft. I'm going with the Titans.
All right, say who you think I'm going to say.
The Giants.
No, not the Giants. Close, though. The Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
The Cowboys are going to be a playoff team. I like the way they handled their draft. They select 2 defensive players that will immediately have an impact. I'm going Dallas. Dallas will be a playoff team this upcoming season.
Okay.
All right, guys.
That too, yeah.
Well, now we're going to do the inverse of it. Somebody that before the draft you thought was a playoff team, but maybe other teams have jumped them and passed them, and now they're not necessarily a playoff team. What do you think, Bleck?
All right, I'm going to go, to me, it's an easy one. Maybe it's low-hanging fruit, but it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are a playoff team. I don't think they really did anything to set themselves up to move forward, and they're still waiting on Aaron Rodgers to decide. And so I'm going to say the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's a good one. I can't think of another team that I could put there. I don't really... Yeah, I have to go Pittsburgh because just by process of elimination, I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers could have done anything in the draft to make me take them and put them in the playoffs unless they traded up somehow and added Fernando Mendoza and got the first overall pick and added a real quarterback to their quarterback room, I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers unless somehow the Jets find a way to make the playoffs and knock out the New England Patriots, but I don't see that. I don't think the Patriots are going to miss the playoffs. I don't think they're going to win the division, but I definitely think they're going to make the playoffs. So yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you and go with the Pittsburgh Steelers because I think the Ravens are going to make the playoffs and I think the Bengals are going to make the playoffs. So I think it's easy to say. We agree, but it's definitely going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Raj.
All right, guys. In honor of the great movie, the cinematic masterpiece, Draft Day, Kevin Costner quality general managing. Who are we putting that in our post-draft edition of the Power Rankings? Who pulled a Costner on Draft Day, Abdalla?
It's Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman is Kevin Costner. Howie Roseman's drafting a player while he's on the phone with another team.
You guys got to explain this to me. What
Kevin Costner pulls off he's okay. I've actually never seen Draft Day, so I'm gonna assume a lot of things. I assume he's pulling off moves that
wheeling and dealing.
He's wheeling and
He's
dealing
wheeling on Draft Day,
and
he
gets
trades his next 3 ones to move up. I think from like 8 to 1.
Man.
But then
and
he gets
then
them
winds
back.
up moving back, and he gets the picks back by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Plus, he gets a special teams guy. He's wheeling and dealing on Draft Day.
Yeah. So I think it's the guy that won the draft. I'm going to go with Howie Roseman because he got Jonathan Grenard. He drafts a player while he's on the phone with another team, and he's moving up one spot. Like he's doing everything right. He's doing everything right when everyone else is doing everything wrong around him. And every time you make a deal with him, you know you're getting screwed, but you're still making deals with him. It's Howie Roseman.
Raj, do you like Draft Day?
No, it's not a particularly good movie, but it does have some fun NFL anecdotes out of it, including some great one-liners from Kevin Costner while he's on the phone with different GMs.
It's
Great
quite possibly
iconic
like
lines.
the worst movie I've ever seen.
It's pretty
on
bad.
the list.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Horrendous. I think if that's the way you're looking at it, if you're looking for a guy that wheels and deals, I think I might have to repeat one of my answers. Because it does feel like the Houston Texans wheel and deal a lot. Isn't there something with Nick Caserio where he's pulled off the most amount of trades in the last couple of seasons in the draft?
He's done a lot, yeah.
So I'm going to go Nick Caserio as my wheeling and dealing GM.
Okay.
All right, guys, and of course we got to do the inverse of that. So, Bleck, our last category, and I named this one in honor of you guys. Ryan Pace, quality general managing. Who did a Ryan Pace quality job during the NFL draft? I'm leaving that up to interpretation. I'm not saying what it means. Who is the Ryan Pace on draft day?
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Quality.
I'm not the Bears fan, so I left it up to you guys.
All right, I'm going to go with Brett Veach. You moved up for a safety. Mansoor Delane. I mean, chances are he would have been available later in the first round. You jumped up to 6 to snag him. So I'm going to go Brett Veach because I don't know how we're going to qualify this, but I don't really know what Ryan Poles is doing as a GM sometimes.
Yeah.
Someone else needs to take the wheel sometimes with Ryan Poles, and that person is Ben Johnson.
Well, did that person end up being GM of the Falcons? I had to look up his name because I don't know who the GM of the Jaguars is. James Gladstone.
Yeah.
The
Young
GM
fella.
of
Young fella.
the Jaguars. Because they took a tight end in the second round and a defensive tackle in the third round that were outside of the consensus top 150 players.
Jeez.
They're just like, no, we like him. We're taking him.
We like the skill set.
Don't care. We're taking him. And everybody was like, you guys could have drafted this guy in like the 4th round and no one trade back. Like, what are you doing? And they had a bunch of picks. They had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 draft picks. And they could have traded back and gotten a ton more if they wanted these guys. But they're just like, nope, we wanted these guys. This is what we're going to do. And they had a horrible draft as far as value goes. And I don't know if these guys are going to work out. I don't think they got any better and are no closer to winning a division than they were a week ago right now.
And that does it for Power Rankings today, fellas.
Thanks, Raj.
All right, thank you, Raj. Raj Sharon with the Power Rankings from Colorado, Parts Unknown with Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app, sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Save on commercial auto insurance from Progressive. Get a fast quote at progressivecommercial.com. So Mansoor Delane going to the Chiefs. Have the Chiefs done enough defensively to get the Chiefs back into the mix in the AFC to get to the Super Bowl? We'll talk about that coming up next.
The draft is over, but the phone lines are still active. The NFC East has already made a litany of moves. Now the question becomes, who's next to be traded? George Pickens or A.J. Brown? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
It's now time for the Defensive Player of the Week, brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Abdalla, let's nominate Mansoor Delane, selected by the Kansas City Chiefs, 6th overall in the NFL draft on Thursday night from LSU. He will now be with the Kansas City Chiefs, replacing Trent McDuffie in the secondary for the Chiefs as they try and get back to the top of the AFC. There's a lot of teams in front of them. But Mansoor Delane, Defensive Player of the Week.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams in front of them in the AFC. There's a few teams in front of them in their own division that I think are still better than them as they try to get back from what they were last year at 6-11 and missing out on the playoffs. And, Patrick Mahomes was injured for a little bit of that time, but even in the time that he wasn't injured, they still struggled and they needed to rebuild their defense. They needed to add some pieces on offense. And they really struggled to run the football, adding Kenneth Walker in the offseason, giving him a big contract that should help. He was, the Super Bowl MVP for the Seattle Seahawks. But in this draft this past weekend, they added, like you said, Mansoor Delane from LSU, the cornerback, to replace Trent McDuffie. And then also in the first round, they add Peter Woods from Clemson, the defensive tackle. I like that. I think more than I like Mansoor Delane. I think adding that to your front defensive line, I think adds a lot right there to me. And I really like that move. I think adding R. Mason Thomas from Oklahoma on the edge with a high pick in the second round, I think that's great for them. Adding the safety from Oregon in the fourth round. Yeah, it's a fourth round pick. It's a flyer. He's a depth piece that's going to be good for them. But those 3 picks on defense, adding Mansoor Delane, Peter Woods, and R. Mason Thomas, I think really fortifies this defense. And those 3 guys should be instant impact players for this. Now, all 3 of them have to hit. Like, they have to be, like, Trent McDuffie's are big shoes to fill for Mansoor Delane. And being at a 6th overall pick, he's got big shoes to fill. But being a 6th overall pick, he should be able to do it. Peter Woods should be a big presence there on that defensive line. And R. Mason Thomas should be good coming off the edge. Those players have to hit in order for this defense to be successful.
And check out our interview with Mansoor Delane on our YouTube channel, Bleck and Abdalla Show. He joined us moments after he stepped off the stage after he was selected 6th overall in the NFL draft on Thursday night. The Defensive Player of the Week brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. If you want to join the show today, you can call us at 310-840-4910. That's where we find Mitchell in New York. What's up, Mitchell?
How's it going, Chris? Adam, how you guys doing?
What's up, man?
What's up, man?
Yeah. I'm just going with the college and the Raiders. Raiders, I think they did a pretty good draft. Besides getting the best quarterback, and he'd be no worse than 3 next year, which I think would be a very deep draft. They got 2 defensive linemen, 3 defensive backs, so I like it. And with college, the worst thing about I love the transfer. I love the getting paid. A lot of movements. I mean, what the whole place fought for in free agency. But the thing I don't like is it's really still confusing to me, really. It's this breaking up the Pac-12. Cal's in ACC, USC, my USC's in the Big Ten. It's really stupid. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, thank you, Mitchell. Appreciate the phone call. Mitchell in New Jersey joins the show. Yeah, I mean, the fact that the Pac-12 was broken up and you have teams from the West Coast playing in the Big Ten, you have teams from the West Coast playing in the ACC.
Yeah.
Stanford and Cal. Yeah, it's terrible. And it ripped apart rivalries for those schools. And even though now the Big Ten is the most powerful conference, and it's essentially college sports are boiled down to 2 mega conferences in the Big Ten and the SEC, I don't think it's better. I don't think anyone likes it this way.
No.
And it's we look at men's football, college football, and men's college basketball as like that's what we concern ourselves with most of the time. But like all of this smaller sports at those schools, the travel is tough.
Yeah.
If you are a volleyball player and you're traveling to New Jersey because Rutgers is in the Big Ten and you're a UCLA volleyball player, that's a long trip, and you're not getting the same air flight accommodations that the football team is or the basketball team. So you think Mick Cronin is flying commercial?
No, they're not.
Right. So it's not a good situation.
No, it's
not. It's
not.
never going to change back, but it is what it is now.
No, it's not. And, they're adding more games for these guys because they're expanding the playoff and with the travel that sucks for the teams. And you've had guys like Mick Cronin complain about it. And you've had teams like UCLA and USC complain about it and getting rid of those rivalry games. USC is not going to play Notre Dame anymore. And that's a great rivalry game. And you've got other rivalries that have stopped because of
just the rivalries in the conference.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The rivalries in the conference.
I mean, Stanford and Cal being a part of the Pac-12 and the fact that Stanford and Cal are no longer in the same conference with UCLA and USC, that's bad. They should still play. Those are big games.
Yeah, and I do think, though, it's for some conferences to add more conference games. The SEC is going to play more conference games because of it and get rid of some of their cupcake games that other fans have complained about it. Fans of the Big 10, fans of the Big 12 have always complained that the SEC plays too many easy games at the beginning and at the end of their schedules, and now they're going to add more conference games to their schedule, so it'll be tougher on them. And the SEC, which, wants more automatic bids to the college football playoff, and the Big Ten wants more automatic bids to the college football playoff once it expands even more. They want more automatic bids, so their answer to that is, well, add more conference games and we'll give you more automatic bids.
All right, you and I, we were watching the draft. We were watching NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, some Major League Baseball over the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's Tuesday, but we're still looking back at last weekend. Did you see the numbers that are out from the box office for the movie Michael? The Michael Jackson movie?
Yeah.
$217 million made at the box office for this Michael Jackson movie?
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain this to me?
People like Michael Jackson.
Wait, but wasn't the talk about the movie before it was released the fact that they had to scrap the entire third act because the Michael Jackson Trust didn't want the negative portion of the story released?
Yeah.
So they had to scrap the entire ending of the film, pointing out what has happened in recent times with Michael Jackson? Isn't that the story?
Yeah.
That they had a film and they had to scrap the end of the film because it was actually going to cover what happened at the end of his life, which I saw this on social media. So I'm lifting and I'm going to say the line to you guys, but I'm pointing out that this is not original. What I saw online is if there was an O.J. Simpson movie and the movie ended after he won the Heisman.
Yeah.
The story is after. That's the story. That's the movie.
He won the Heisman and had an illustrious football career.
That's the story.
He was a great football player.
So people have gone to see this movie, Michael.
Yeah, people love Michael Jackson,
I've
man.
also seen the reviews are that the movie's terrible.
The movie looks horrendous. And people still love Michael Jackson. He is an international icon, man.
Well, I'm aware of that.
Fellas, the movie is currently sitting at a 39% rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, but the audience
doesn't matter.
97%.
People want to watch it. Because I don't know if people know that it doesn't cover that. I think people might be going to see if it covers that. And maybe you get a significant drop-off this weekend because now word of mouth is that it doesn't cover that. And so
you can't really be interested in this.
I'm not going to go see it.
No, I'm saying like who's going to see this movie?
Fans of his music.
Just listen to it if that's the case.
They want to go see it. People love Michael Jackson.
I'm not doubting that. But this isn't the story.
People love Michael Jackson, man. It doesn't matter. I'll tell you this. When I lived overseas and having gone overseas a bunch since moving back, and every time I go overseas, every time.
Well, yeah. I mean, come on. We've all been
every time I go
out
overseas,
of this country.
Every time I go overseas.
I know.
And they say, where are you? And I go to the Middle East, whatever. And they're like, where are you from? And I say, America. And they go, Michael Jackson? It's not Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
It's not any other American. It's not Taylor Swift. It's not what it's Michael. They asked me about Michael Jackson.
We've all seen the bad entertainment at the resort in Mexico.
Exactly.
We've all been there.
What is it? It's not. It's a Michael Jackson show.
Yeah,
And
it's always
musical
bad.
biopics do well at the box office.
Yeah.
Bohemian Rhapsody, Straight Outta Compton, Rocket Man. These are all Walk the Line. They made a lot of money.
That
Make a lot of money.
Rocket Man made money. I don't
Rocket
think
Man
so.
made a
Raj.
lot of money.
That Bruce
I don't know.
Springsteen one.
Now, here's what's wild. It made under 200 million, which is a lot, but that's like less than Michael just made in its opening weekend.
No, I'm aware. I'm just saying, like, I don't know.
People love Michael Jackson. I don't understand. Dude,
That's not the argument. I understand that people do, but like the movie looks terrible. They cut out the end of the movie, so it's just all right. Everyone, time to go home. This all turned out great.
dude, he made
This is awesome.
Off the Wall, Bad, and Thriller. Like,
We're
I
there
know.
for the bangers, guys. We just want to listen to the music.
yeah, like the bangers are undeniable.
I think we're having two separate conversations right
I don't
now.
think we are. I think we're having the exact same conversation.
Some of the Hollywood experts are speculating the reason it did well at the box office is it cut out the bad stuff. And people
Yeah.
could just go listen to the hits they
People
liked
just
and
wanna go-
have a
Let's
nice
just
story
ignore
about
it.
Michael Jackson.
Let's just ignore.
People just want to. People just want to listen to the music. They don't want to be
Bothered.
Bothered.
Are you going to go see the R. Kelly film when they make that one?
I saw the Closet movie that he made.
Did you?
Yeah. When
How did that go?
it did not touch me the way that people are being touched by the Michael Jackson movie. Apparently.
Why do you say it like that?
Raj, you and Laura, you guys want the bangers.
The
Okay.
hits. Come on.
That's what Abdalla's giving you. That's why people are there. To be touched by the music.
Yeah. By the music.
Raj, don't say, oh gosh. This is the path you sent us
You
down.
walked us right into that one.
You sent us down this
You
path.
walked
All
us
I did
right
was ask, who's seeing
into
this?
that one.
It
Listen
looks
to
like
this deflection.
garbage.
I'm not the one who said anything about touching or whatever it was you guys were just
Oh, no,
talking
no, no,
about.
no.
Touched
That was
by the
Adam,
music.
Adam
Touched by the
Abdalla.
music.
That
Touched
was
by the
Adam
music.
Abdalla with his
Music.
Wilcox shirt on.
Wilco.
Whoa.
Wilco.
Easy there, Raj.
Local Chicago band Wilco.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
It's Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports, Westwood One Sports app, SiriusXM Channel 375, and all of our great radio affiliates around the country. I'm Chris Bleck, along with Adam Abdalla. You can watch the show on YouTube, Bleck and Abdalla Show, live each and every day. We are broadcasting live from the city of Chicago, and we're on the air until 3 Eastern, and then we'll hand it off to Jim Rome at 3 Eastern right here on Westwood One Sports. You can call or text the show at 310-840-4910. Abdalla, we've got a lot of NFL to cover this hour, a lot of things to talk about. The Steelers have placed the right of first refusal tender on Aaron Rodgers, so we'll get to that in just a second. I do have breaking quarterback news in the NFL just moments ago. Moments ago from Adam Schefter. The Ravens are signing former Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia to a 3-year deal, sources say. Pavia is supposed to try out this weekend for the Ravens.
But they signed him in advance. Okay. All right. So Lil Diego gets his 3-year deal.
Well, he went undrafted.
Yep.
And then yesterday he posted on social media, blank the NFL.
Did he really?
You didn't see that?
I did not see that.
Oh, he posted after he went undrafted. He posted on Instagram stories like blank the NFL.
Oh my God.
And then some other line like he'll do it his own way or something. And then he deleted the post after it was posted because obviously his agent was probably like, dude, you got to get a team to bring you in,
CFL,
man.
bro?
Like you got to get a team to bring you in. So he is signing with the Ravens, 3-year deal. Pavia, as Raj is pointing out to pronounce the name.
So he's the first Heisman Trophy finalist to go undrafted. is what I read after the draft. And it's honestly by no fault of his own, because after the Heisman Trophy voting and after he lost the Heisman Trophy to Fernando Mendoza, he went on another social media rant and didn't he go to like Vegas or Miami or something and had like a party and was like F the Heisman and this kind of stuff? And
yeah, he's got a interesting attitude and style about him.
Except he's never won anything.
No.
He beat Alabama once. Cool, good for you. He's never won a Heisman. He's never won a national championship. He's basically Timu Johnny Manziel, is what he is.
Well, doesn't he say that like Johnny Manziel is his like the person that his mentor? Isn't he talked about this?
I would pick different mentors, dude. I would pick different mentors. Johnny Manziel is a great mentor if you want to find someone like on the road to recovery and stuff like that, because Johnny Manziel has turned his life around. But if you want to model yourself after someone who went from college to the NFL, pick a different role model. And I'm sure Johnny Manziel would tell you the same, because he went about it the completely wrong way, going from college to the NFL.
Yeah,
and
Pavia,
that is well documented.
So here's a New York Post story from, it says a couple weeks ago, Pavia was at a strip club until 5 a.m.
Cool.
Let's see. He spent at least 3 hours there.
Dude.
And there's video of him making it rain. All right. Show it and throw it.
I'm not surprised that he wasn't drafted.
How are the wings? You know, that's always the default when players are seen at the strip club in Atlanta, that they've got the lemon pepper wings. So that's why they go, because of the food.
Oh,
it's a big deal.
Food.
So maybe it was maybe he was just leaving tips.
That's just
for
how
the wait staff.
Now this is a very dated reference. I feel like in the age that we live in, that's like used to be say that you used to read Playboy for the articles.
Oh yeah, yes it is. Yes it is.
Yeah,
correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
For the great writing
and
journalistic integrity of Playboy.
Integrity
yes.
of the articles in Playboy.
Yes.
So I'm not surprised that he did
not the centerfold or other.
I'm surprised that it's a 3-year deal for Pavia, and that this wasn't just a camp invite, and that they're bringing him for a 3-year contract. Maybe it's a veteran minimum contract, and maybe it's not very cost effective, and he's going to be like a third string, practice squad guy for them. Like obviously he's probably maybe competing for a backup job in this role. So, I mean, look, he gets a deal. He gets a chance to prove himself in the NFL, and I would hope that someone gives him a proper guidance in this and says, hey, if your role model is Johnny Manziel and you're doing all this stuff, like you need to hone it in and you need to focus on the NFL and focus on getting your mind in the right place and not going like you could listen. If you want to spend your time in the strip clubs, that's fine. You do whatever you want to, man. But posting F the NFL and doing the stuff you did after the Heisman and saying who you want to model yourself after, like that's not a way to get yourself a real shot in the NFL. Like you're obviously being signed to be a third string, maybe backup, if that, for the Baltimore Ravens. So good for Diego Pavia.
Congratulations. Now you have a chance to fight onto the practice squad.
Yep.
With the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep.
All right. There is other NFL news. Earlier today, the Steelers have now offered and placed a right of first refusal tender on Aaron Rodgers. And what that means is that if Rodgers decides to play, he can only play for the Steelers this upcoming season. So once training camp starts, he cannot decide to go elsewhere. And so he would get a raise, a 10% raise on his salary from last season. So we would put him at about $15 million for this year to quarterback the Steelers. We still don't have an answer on Aaron Rodgers, whether or not he's going to play. We know that it would be likely for the Steelers. And now that they've placed this right of first refusal tag on him, it will be the Steelers if he does play.
Yeah, and I think we're all operating under the assumption that he is going to play with the Steelers. At least the Steelers are operating under the assumption, or else they probably would have drafted a quarterback a lot sooner than when they drafted Drew Aller from Penn State, or they would have signed someone like Kirk Cousins instead of him going to the Raiders to battle it out with Fernando Mendoza and may the best quarterback win. I think that this prolonged situation is just because, as much as we hear that he loves ball and he loves hanging out with his teammates, he doesn't like doing it in the offseason. He doesn't like doing it in April and May and for most of June. He likes doing it towards the middle of July and towards August when it's time to get into training camp and then in the regular season. He doesn't like doing voluntary workouts. He doesn't like doing mini camps. He doesn't like doing any of that stuff. He wants to come in when it's time for training camp and do anything there. And then when he's screaming at receivers on the sidelines, when it gets to December, when you're into and January, when you're in the playoffs and you're wondering why you're eliminated in the wild card, this is when you look back on April and May and why you weren't in there working with new wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr. and working with DK Metcalf again. And I know it's not a new system for him, but Mike McCarthy's a new head coach for the Steelers. Getting familiar with everybody and ingratiating yourself into the new system that everybody else is trying to get accustomed to, and actually saying, guys, this might be my last year. I need to give it everything that I have. Let's do this together. Instead, he's nowhere to be found having late night phone calls with head coach Mike McCarthy.
Late night speaks.
And saying, I'll be there when I get there. And now they have to use this, rights of first refusal tag, whatever it is, to make sure another team can't sign him or they get to at least match the offer.
It just feels like it's a slight to his teammates. And I get for the other vets of that team, like Cam Hayward, Watt, they've got it handled. And there's good leadership on that team. And even though there's a new head coaching staff coming in and Mike Tomlin's no longer there, it's people who have done it before. So the plans being put in place, they don't necessarily need Rodgers' leadership to be there. I just think offensively, if you're going to install a new offense, having the quarterback of that offense participate in the offseason program, to me, would be something that makes a lot of sense. And it may not be specifically for Aaron Rodgers, but the younger players offensively could get a lot out of being around Aaron Rodgers each and every day as they go through the offseason program. And that to me is pretty selfish. That he knows, if he does know, that he's planning on playing this season, but yet he doesn't want to participate in the offseason program. So he's not going to tell the Steelers until later so he doesn't have to report without getting fined when there are mandatory situations that the players have to be at the facility. Right? Like That's what this is. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers can handle it. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the best we've ever seen play the position. But it's not about him. It's about getting the most out of his teammates. And the young teammates who will have a chance to get a new install with a new offense and a new head coach. So get there. If you're going to play for the Steelers, get to Pittsburgh. Show up. Be there when there's events taking place in the offseason program, and be there for Mike McCarthy to help him take an offense that like the back of your hand and instruct and help and teach those who are on the offense. Like, that's what this is about. It's not whether or not can Rodgers play or does he need the OTAs. It's about the other guys on the offense getting to be around Aaron Rodgers each day. That's what it's about.
Don't you think that it would help the wide receivers to have another voice and say, hey, guys, this is the route tree that we're working with. This is what's going on. Let's stay after. Let's throw, let's do this. Why don't you guys meet me down here? Why don't we do ayahuasca together and let's find ourselves? Let's all experience this together. Let's do that. He can build, if this is truly going to be his last season, because if you're a Steelers fan, do you want to go through this ordeal again? Do you really want to do this again? You don't. You can't. Because if we would have talked to 100 Steelers fans, like if we would have been the, hey, convince me I'm wrong booth in Pittsburgh last week when we were there, if we would have said the Ravens and Bengals are better than you, convince me I'm wrong, I don't think we would have gotten a single Steelers fan to convince us that we were wrong, because the Ravens and the Bengals are better than you right now, even with Aaron Rodgers. So, yes, you can still bring in Aaron Rodgers and have hope that you make a wild card and go on a run and he rides off into the sunset with a Super Bowl ring, and that's how the fairy tale ending ends for him. But it's more than likely that Aaron Rodgers' final season ends without a playoff spot, and he goes out the same way Brett Favre goes out, either injured or on the last week of the season. That's how it usually works.
Well, and like you said, the coming together with other players on the offense, think back to all of the different times that we've seen Aaron Rodgers and a wide receiver discussing miscommunication on the line. Mm-hmm. Because what does Rodgers do? Rodgers takes the play and he's got hand motions, he's got eye signals, and things that he wants the receivers to read off of his body language to why he is going to place the football back shoulder, out in front, a dig route, whatever it is. How many times do we get that during an NFL season where Rodgers takes one step and fires to a wide receiver who used to be Devontae Adams, who would take one step off the line and wait, and it would just be like an impromptu wide receiver screen type of play, right? Like a bubble screen type of situation. And that type of thing is from reps and from being together. And Rodgers being able to see, if he knows the corner is at a certain depth, he can look at Devontae Adams and just give like a little eye look, like, here it comes, and then fire it off to him without having to have maximum amounts of communication. That stuff takes time. You can't just show up and miss the offseason program and then be ready to go with that type of thing. And so that's what it's for. It's for the receivers and the younger players. It's not for Aaron Rodgers.
But if you got there now, you could maybe develop that kind of stuff.
Of course.
Here's the other thing. If you signed now, you could get together with these receivers and say, hey, guys, meet me here. Meet me wherever. We hear it all the time. There's Instagram posts of quarterbacks working with players in various locations. It doesn't have to be in Pittsburgh. It can be in Florida. It can be in LA. It can be wherever the hell Rodgers is right now, where we don't know where he is. Wherever he is, they can meet up and practice. That's the point of this. You don't just show up on day one and start throwing. Like, this is something that you need to work on. And quarterbacks that want to win practice with their receivers throughout the offseason. Anybody that wants to win is starting to do this now, except for Aaron Rodgers.
It's Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. You can call or text the show at 310-840-4910. Did Ty Simpson lie to us on draft night? We'll talk about that coming up next.
Who aced the draft and who completely whiffed? We're breaking down the picks, the fits, and where your team goes next. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
If you check out our YouTube page, Bleck and Abdalla's show, on Thursday night of the NFL draft, the first round, we were backstage and we got to talk to all of the players coming off the stage after they were drafted into the NFL. And so those conversations, those interviews, they're all up there on the YouTube channel, Bleck and Abdalla's show. Check it out, like, and subscribe. Ty Simpson was one of those players, and it was a bit surprising when he came off the board at 13 to the Los Angeles Rams. They don't need a quarterback. They have Matthew Stafford. He's a soon-to-be Hall of Fame quarterback, MVP quarterback, Super Bowl winning quarterback. They don't need a QB. And at 13, when the Rams selected Ty Simpson, it was a bit of a surprise. And we all kind of thought that. And when Ty Simpson made it to our table to talk to us on Thursday night, We asked Ty Simpson if he knew if the Rams were going to select him.
No, there were some rumors swirling. It kind of snowballed as we got closer and closer and closer. But I have heard so many things from, just trades that could happen and just the draft in general, the chaos. But sure enough, I saw, one of my best friends, Caden Proctor go before me. And I looked back at my phone and the Los Angeles number called. And it was something to where I got to talk to Mr. Snead and I got to talk to Coach. And I can't wait to get out there tomorrow.
So there you go. That was Ty Simpson on draft night talking with Bleck and Abdalla. You can check out the full interview on our YouTube channel, Bleck and Abdalla Show, right here on YouTube. So that was the answer. Did he know the Rams were going to take him? No. There was a bunch of stuff swirling.
Mm-hmm.
But he said no to us. He did not think that the Rams were going to select him.
Yeah, he's the greatest actor that's ever lived.
Well, on Monday to ESPN, Ty Simpson seems to have changed his story. Here's Ty Simpson talking about the Rams' secret interest in him.
We tried to keep this, under wraps as long as we could. It was something to where I knew they were interested, but, they wanted to, make it private and didn't want people to know that, they were interested. So I had some secret meetings with, Coach McVay. And, I just was trying to be on script and, do what, everybody told me not to tell anybody. So, it was something to where I knew that they were interested. I just didn't know when. And then, sure enough, I had a lot of confidence in myself, and that's why I decided to come out. If it wasn't them, I felt like that it was going to be somebody else.
So there you go. Ty Simpson on Monday, changing his story. It sounds like he was a little bit more confident in his answer, and also lets it be known to all of us that he was sticking to a script that the Rams gave him after meeting with McVay, some secret meetings with McVay before the draft. So Abdalla, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Did Ty Simpson lie to us on Thursday night?
No.
Is Ty Simpson a great actor, or is Sean McVay a great actor? Because McVay seemed annoyed on draft night.
No. Neither of them are good actors.
So what's going on here?
So 2 hours ago, during our first hour of the show.
Yep.
Check out the podcast wherever your podcasts are sold. This one's free. I said that these two were the greatest actors ever. This is De Niro Pacino.
So you're changing your story now.
This is Daniel Day-Lewis. This is Eddie Murphy playing all the characters in Nutty Professor. This is Men in Black type stuff. The greatest acting I've ever seen.
That's the list. Daniel Day-Lewis.
This is
Eddie Murphy and Nutty Professor.
This is Austin Powers
and
level.
Men in Black.
This is Austin Powers level stuff. Okay.
Wait, for Men in Black, which actor are you going with?
The little the roach-looking guys that smoked cigarettes in the
mailroom.
In the mailroom, yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Okay.
I think this now that I've had time to marinate.
Yeah, to let it sit.
To simmer.
Have it fester in your brain.
Uh-huh. This is even more damage control, is what this is. This is even more McVay and Snead are on the same page, damage control from Thursday night. Because the way that McVay was staring daggers through Les Snead and the way he said, what was the process like when you were scouting Ty Simpson? And he said, I'm going to keep that between us.
Keep it between us.
You can't act like that. That vein was popping out of his head and his neck.
All right.
You can't act like that.
Yeah.
Football men can't do that.
It seemed authentic.
I think this is even more. And look, there might be partial truths in this, in that he may have had more conversations than he let on. And like he might have known, or his family might have known, because we know that his quarterback father is friends with GM Les Snead, and that Ty Simpson's family has a connection.
A college coach.
Exactly. His coach of a dad is friends with GM Les Snead. Like, we know that there's a connection. I think this is even more damage control of we need absolutely zero distractions going into this season, where there is going to be all eyes on the Rams going all in on this Super Bowl that is going to be in LA.
So what's the damage control?
The damage control is that we're still on the same page because training camp, there's going to be training camp stuff. There's going to be watching Ty Simpson in training camp. Yeah, Sean McVay even said there's going to be a battle for the second quarterback spot.
Yeah, but it'll be in the background because it's all going to be about Matthew Stafford.
I understand that. But the questions are going to come up when and if they start losing. If they lose a few games, if they struggle, could you have had a better player at 13 than a guy who's holding a clipboard?
Well, we won't know that answer like for 5 to 7 years, right? Because
I'll know it if they lose the NFC Championship game.
No, you won't, because here's why we won't. We will only know the answer to this after Matthew Stafford retires, and when he retires, if it is Ty Simpson that steps in to take the starting job, then we will know. And if he's good, then we will know it was the right decision. So if we get 5 years down the road, Stafford plays 2 more. So 3 years from now, it's Ty Simpson's team. And he steps onto the field, and he's a good quarterback. He's a really good quarterback. The Rams won. It doesn't matter what the outcome of this specific season is.
I understand that. But if
the decision is made for the future.
Yeah.
Now, if they get 3 to 4 years down the road and we have a J.J. McCarthy situation where the kid just can't play, yeah, you're right. The right thing to have done would have been adding a player to try and win a Super Bowl now because Ty Simpson wasn't the guy.
But you could have done both. The decision could have also been made to trade back and pick up Ty Simpson in the 20s or the late teens and add a draft pick later and swap picks and add another late first-round pick or add another second-round pick and add another wide receiver there.
Don't you think it's possible that the reason the Rams were unable to do that is because if you're trying to move back but stay in the first round, it's obvious that that's what you're trying to do?
Well,
think about, we talked to 15 different players on draft night.
Yeah.
How many of those players told us when we asked, did you know X team was going to draft you?
Yeah.
Their response was, no, didn't really have many conversations with it. I mean, isn't that essentially what Reuben Bain Jr. told us? That he didn't really have a lot of conversations with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers before they drafted him?
We also heard going into the first round that teams thought that the Cardinals could just sit there and wait for Ty Simpson to fall into the second round.
No, I know. And we talked about that.
So if the Rams just traded back to like 18, 19, 20, they could have just waited and gotten a second round pick. They also could have just waited and drafted Mekhi Lemon at 13 and traded back up into the first round because there was a flurry of trades at the end of the first round. That could have been one of them, and they trade back up and draft Ty Simpson there.
Yeah, I just think when we look at the overall story here, Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app, we won't know the answer to whether or not the Rams made the right decision for a few years down the road. Now, it's not the way I would do it. I don't think that Ty Simpson's going to be the next great star in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I think the concerns over Ty Simpson and the amount of games that he started last year and that he's only started and played in 15 college football games, I think that's real. And I mentioned the comparison to J.J. McCarthy. McCarthy played more games at Michigan than Ty Simpson did.
Yeah.
And what happened when McCarthy finally got in there? He looked shaky.
Yeah, he struggled.
He struggled big time, and that's why Minnesota's bringing in Kyler Murray for this season. So I would be worried as a Rams fan that that's what you're set up for, is that when you get 4 years from this date, You had a year of Ty Simpson as his first season at quarterback, and I'm putting up air quotes because he's not a rookie 3 years in, but his first year as a starter, I'm guessing it will be shaky. And then you'll be sitting there heading into that fourth season saying, like, is this going to take? Like, is he going to be any better than what he's at right now? Because he has no experience.
Mm-hmm.
He's been sitting the bench here. He's not going to get experience this season. Unless Matthew Stafford has a really bad injury and is out, then they could pivot and get the experience for the kid. But drafting him where they did to a team that has a quarterback will not help. It will not help at all as far as Ty Simpson getting more experience at the position when he already came into having very little.
Or he could be a name that we reference when fans want to say that quarterbacks should sit.
Sure.
And he's added to the Patrick Mahomes, the Jordan Loves, the Aaron Rodgers. He's added to that names of guys that were drafted in the first round that should have sat and that learned a lot by sitting because they were drafted to an organization that had a quarterback that was still winning at the time and that was drafted to sit for 1 or 2 years. And when it was their time, they were ready and they came in and they were still winning. Like, who's to say that, let's say all of this is actually true.
Yeah.
And that this was the greatest acting job, and this is actually, and they're actually Kaiser Soseg, and they stopped, and all of a sudden, Sean McVay stopped limping.
Okay. Yep.
And he stopped, all of a sudden, he stopped mean mugging Les Snead, and that was his limp.
And they pulled off the ruse.
They pulled off the ruse. And his plan is to stay after 2 years, after Matthew Stafford retires, and he does think that Ty Simpson is the heir apparent. And this is a, Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers situation. And he is going to teach, Ty Simpson. This is exactly what I talked about, being the best situation for Ty Simpson possible. I wouldn't have taken him at 13. I would have traded back into the 20s and gotten him there, or traded back up into the first round and taken him and taken a player at 13 that would have helped me to win a Super Bowl now. But if you want the player and you think he's going to be your quarterback of the future, and in 2 years, there's no drop-off between Matthew Stafford and Ty Simpson, and you're winning your division, and you're in the mix for the playoffs, no one's going to complain about where you drafted him.
Did he lie to us?
I hope not.
I think he was just overwhelmed. I think it was just a lot.
I would like to think that either if he did, after I told him I was an Alabama fan, he felt bad about it.
You think that he thought about us later? Like after that moment?
Yeah.
He was like, man, I lied to that guy who said he was an Alabama fan.
Yeah.
I asked him if he went there. He said, no, he's just a fan.
Yeah.
You think that stuck with Ty Simpson?
Yeah, I would hope not.
You don't think it stuck? All right, so that's the latest on Ty Simpson and the Rams. It's Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Tonight, 8 Eastern, Hawks and Knicks, Game 5 in the Garden. We will preview this game coming up next.
The Cardinals draft Carson Beck after a national title game run at Miami. Is the experienced pocket passer ready to be Arizona's quarterback of the future? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
Check out the podcast on Apple and on Spotify. You can also watch the show daily on YouTube, Bleck and Abdalla Show. Check it out, like and subscribe. New content posted daily on our YouTube channel as well. So check it out, like and subscribe, Bleck and Abdalla Show. Thank you to Raj and Laura for producing today's show. Jim Rome and the Jim Rome Show is coming up in about 18 minutes right here on Westwood One Sports. Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla hanging out with you. We'll be back tomorrow from noon to 3 Eastern right here on Westwood One Sports. Tonight in the NBA, the 76ers are at the Celtics, 7 o'clock Eastern. Boston is up 3-1 in this series. The Hawks and the Knicks, 8 o'clock Eastern, 2-2. Series tied as they head into Game 5. And then the late game, 9:30 Eastern, the Blazers at the Spurs. The Spurs are up 3-1. Did not seem to affect the outcome of this series. Wemby missed a couple of games, and he's back. And now the Spurs they have a chance to close it out tonight at home against Portland. The game I'm definitely keeping my eyes on, and I can't wait to watch tonight. Hawks and Knicks. This should be a really good game. This is a series that I thought could go 7 as we started the playoffs, Abdalla. And that's where we get the pivotal Game 5. Usually teams that win Game 5 in a 2-2 series go on to win the series overall.
Yeah, I think that's the one to watch tonight. You're right. How do the Knicks react at home? What goes on in this game? I think the other two are going to end tonight. I think both those series.
It feels like that, doesn't it?
Seem like they're going to end in a gentleman's sweep, and that'll be it for the 76ers and Portland. And it was nice for them to appear in this year's playoffs. And Boston and San Antonio. Yeah, and Boston and San Antonio move on. But for the Knicks, they really need to get this one at home for Jalen Brunson and for the Knicks and for this team, like you said, to move on. And Atlanta, are they going to be able to just continue to, New York responded, but are they going to be able to take advantage of their lack of defense and Jalen Brunson's lack of playing defense? And how are they going to be able to play going to New York, and how are they going to respond here?
Yeah, I would say this. In Game 4, the Knicks showed up, right? Mm-hmm. They won the game 114-98. It was kind of a laugher in the end. The Knicks completely controlled that game on the road. And in fact, in the fourth quarter, seeing the Knicks fans cheering and celebrating in Atlanta's home stadium, it is just proof to the fact that if the Knicks are ever really, really good, there are Knicks fans everywhere in this country. There are two basketball fan bases that travel well and support their team, and for many years they haven't been any good. And it's the New York Knicks, and it's also the Chicago Bulls. Those are the two teams. And it's, even though I'm a Bulls fan and I've always thought the Knicks is my number one rival in sports, it just goes back to the early 90s, the Ewing, the Anthony Mason teams, the Pat Riley and the slicked back hair, the whole thing. I respect the Knicks. I can't stand them, but I respect them, and Knicks fans always support their team. So that was cool to see in Game 4.
I don't feel like I want Atlanta to move on, though. I want to see the Knicks move on. I think the Knicks, I'm not necessarily saying they're a better team. They're a better watch to move on in the playoffs. I would like to see this Knicks team move on and see what they can do in the playoffs. Now, they have to win tonight, and they have to win a few more games here. They have to win 2 more games here. So we'll see if they can. Atlanta has, called them out defensively, and, Brunson can't play defense, and we'll see how they can win 2 in a row tonight and build off of their last game. But I think for the next round of the playoffs, I'm not rooting for New York, like you said, as a Bulls fan, but I think they're a better watch than Atlanta is.
Ooh, a better watch.
They're more polarizing.
Well, yeah, okay, yes. Yes, because the stakes that are in front of them.
Yeah.
They're a team that they have expectations.
Yes.
To win a championship. Mm-hmm. And with a new head coach and Mike Brown coming in this year, they're expected to take another step forward. I don't know if I would agree that they're more fun to watch.
Do you want to watch Hawks Celtics or Knicks Celtics?
Well, and that's the case, because tonight if the Celtics win, the matchup in the next round, the second round, will be Celtics against Knicks or Hawks.
Knicks.
I think
it's the Knicks.
That might be true, but I think the Hawks have a better chance against the Celtics.
I know,
than the Knicks do. I think the Celtics will just take the Knicks apart.
I don't know. It's New York, Boston is more fun.
Yeah. Me. Yeah, no doubt. But I do think if you're talking about watchability of a team, Jalen Johnson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, CJ McCollum.
Yes.
I think the Hawks are a fun team to watch.
I'm not saying they're not.
They get after it defensively. I think they're a fun team. Sometimes the Knicks kind of bog down because it's all Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
At the end of a game, the ball's in his hand, and he's fun to watch, and he's so good. He's terrible defensively, but offensively, he can do whatever he wants. He uses his body so well to get his shot off at any spot on the floor. But the Knicks do play a boring style of basketball sometimes.
Of course they do. It just seems like this is, yes, I agree with you that the Hawks would give them a better matchup. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying for building up a series, Knicks Celtics would be the better story.
Last night in the NBA, the Thunder get through the first round, a sweep of the Phoenix Suns. The Thunder have now won 12 straight games in the first round. That's 3 straight years of sweeps in the first round for the Oklahoma City Thunder. They await the Lakers and the Rockets, the winner of that series. That series concludes tomorrow at 9 o'clock. It will be Lakers and Rockets for game 5 of that series. And I think the latest information that's out is that the Lakers are expecting to have Austin Reeves back for tomorrow night. You know, this entire series, Lakers and Rockets, has been kind of changed based on injuries, whether it be the 2 stars for the Lakers, Reeves and Doncic, but then also the Rockets, the fact that Kevin Durant has been out with 2 separate injuries from this series alone.
Yeah. He seems absolutely checked out. I know he came back to the bench.
He showed up to the bench.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't understand that. At a home game and he wasn't there on the bench?
Well, he was getting treatment.
Sure.
He was getting treatment, Chris.
During the entire game?
Treatment.
During the entire game.
Treatment. Treatment takes a while.
Yeah,
have you ever been treated?
Yeah. Yes.
Sometimes treatment takes time.
Hot tub, cold tub.
Treatment, some acupuncture maybe.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
I'm guessing there's going to be things happening in Houston this offseason.
I think he's done with Houston.
I just don't see it. I think I saw somewhere online someone say that Kevin Durant should just find his way to Portland where he can allow Damian Lillard to be the vet that runs the team. And then he can just sit there and be chill and smoke weed and burner account about basketball and just kind of float through a season and score his 23 a night and just kind of be a basketball guy and not have to worry about the pressure of getting to a championship, winning a championship, getting his team to the next round. And just that should be the end of Durant's career. It's just dude who scores a bunch of buckets for the Blazers.
I could see that. That would be a good fit, I think, for him. But I think his time with the Rockets is over. If he doesn't play in Game 5, it's over because the Lakers are winning this series. I don't see the Rockets being able to come back in this one. The Lakers are going to move on and then just get decimated by the Thunder.
All right,
and that.
And then last night, the Magic, they beat the Pistons 94-88. They take a 3-1 lead over the Pistons. It's time to panic for the Pistons. This is a tough situation. Tomorrow, Game 5 against the Magic, they will be fighting to stay alive against the Magic, which the 8th seed and the 1 seed. This is tough. I honestly don't see Detroit winning this series now. And I know that it's easy to say when the Magic are up 3-1, but I don't see a way how the Pistons will be able to shoot well enough from the field to make up for the fact that Orlando is just playing great defense. They're bodying the Pistons, and they're not letting them get anything easy. And Cade Cunningham can't do it all by himself.
Yeah, they're taking care of everybody besides Cade Cunningham. And Cade Cunningham can put up 25 a night, 30 a night. And the problem is nobody else can score. Jalen Duren has been MIA. He's been missing. He put up 20 in Game 1, and since then, he hasn't been able to put up more than 12 points. He put up 12 points last night. That's been the most he's put up since Game 1. He can't get a shot off to save his life. He put up 8 shots last night. That's not a way that the Pistons are going to win. He didn't shoot it at 3 the entire night. What are we doing here? He was so good when Cade Cunningham was out with his collapsed lung. And now Jalen Duren is just completely a non-factor. And if the Pistons have any chance of winning 3 games in a row, which is likely impossible, the Magic are going to do something that's only been done a handful of times ever in the history of the NBA, and that's an 8 seed knocking out a 1 seed in the first round of the NBA playoffs. And I know that people can say, oh, well, we called this, but you and I did say that if the Magic got in, the Magic would make this a series. But to say that this would only happen, 6 other times in the NBA, that it's nuts that the Pistons were this good throughout the regular season and they're just going to let this fizzle out.
Well, the question that was posed to us before the playoffs were take the top 2 seeds in each conference. Which team is most likely to get upset? Right? Mm-hmm. And so we said Thunder, Spurs. We thought both would be sweeps.
Yeah.
There's a good chance tonight the Spurs win. They move on. It would be a 4-1 series win. And then we looked at the situation with Boston and Philly. Like, no, Boston's going to win that series. Maybe Philly gets a game. And again, tonight, that series could come to an end. So we might be right about the Spurs and both the Celtics getting, only losing 1 game in each of those series. And then we both pointed to Detroit as that's the series.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone's going to be upset in the first round, it was Detroit. Out of those 4, the top 2 from each conference. And so we'll keep our eye on that as we head towards Game 5. And also shout out to Nikola Jokic.
Hey.
How about Jokic? Showing up yesterday, playing a little basketball. He did try some shenanigans at the end because, of course, he has to.
Well, yeah,
it's his want,
of course,
to get a little
can't just
sideways.
have a clean game, yeah. Mm-hmm,
What was that nonsense at the end? Handing the basketball over and then trying to rip it back to try it and then to argue, well, it's a jump ball. I'm trying to force a jump ball.
Instigating.
All right, but how about this? He let the play speak for itself. He had a great game, and the Nuggets survive. And they win last night, 125-113. 3-2 is the series lead for the Timberwolves. So a lot of good basketball this evening.
Yeah, it should be a great night in the NBA. Last night was good, and I think we'll get one good game. The other 2 series will probably end tonight and move on.
Are you going to go see Michael before the games start today?
No.
The Michael Jackson movie?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
Nope.
I thought you might.
Nope.
Jim Rome and the Jim Rome Show's coming up next.
This is Westwood One Sports.